Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Sweet's regular open meeting of council, Tuesday, February the 27th, 2024 in council chambers at 2 p.m. I will ask for a motion, please, to approve the agenda and late items. There are no late items. Thank you. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And next, the adoption of some minutes, the regular open minutes from February the 13th and the special open minutes from February the 15th. Could I please have a motion to adopt those? Thank you. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The minutes of the 15th, there you list a bunch of things here, and we were looking for some information on regards to the property on 97, whether we can use other things with it.
Mr. Riskin, can you answer that?
Yeah, no, that is not in research yet.
Thank you.
So we have it moved and seconded to adopt those minutes. All in favor? Thank you very much. We'll now move on to water matters. And that would be to Water Districts 8 and 9 financial accounts. That Water District cash requirements as of February the 24th are in the amount of $9,495,057. Councillor Marrera, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And next we have the Mr. Zacco update on the 2024 rate changes and 2024-28 budget.
Thanks for morning, Florida. So council's made a number of changes to the 2024 to 2028 budget, bringing down the increase to an average single family residence from $1,514.04 to $932.51. The original budget reflected an overall increase of $1,514.04, or a 39.3% increase for an average single family resident, which included municipal, police, general debt, fire protection, fire hall debt, taxation, plus garbage recycling, sewer, and water user fees. Council readdressed the 2024 to 2028 budget at the February 15th special open meeting of council, and changes were made at that time. So the municipal taxation, as we stand right now, the original increase was $295.56. This has been reduced down to $258.63. Police taxation, the increase was $34.15 and it's been reduced to $14.77. Fire protection taxation was $55.34 and remains at $55.34. Garbage and recycling, the increase was $10.57 and remains at $10.57. The sewer user fee was $444.58 and the revised increase is $298.58. And water user fee was $673.84 and that revised number is $294.62. The total increase for average single family resident, like I said earlier, was $1,514.04, which was reduced now to $932.51. The percentage from taxation increase went from 13.6% down to 11.61%. The percentage utility increase went from 110.64% down to 59.17%. And likewise, the percentage overall increase went from 39.3% down to 24.21%. The budget package is currently being worked on and will be brought back for council's deliberation at the next regular meeting of council or a special meeting at council's discretion. Administration is looking for direction from council on when and where council would like to deliberate the third reading of this bylaw. As a result of the budget meeting that was held on February 15th, there are amendments required to the following bylaws, and that's the sewer rates and regulations fees bylaw 1389, water rates and regulations bylaw 1388, and water district rates and regulations bylaw 1357, and financial plan bylaw 1386, which will all be required to be amended at third reading and will be included in the budget document. So options for council. That council direct administration bring the financial plan bylaw 1386/2024 to the March 12th regular meeting of council held in council chambers for deliberation of third reading as amended. Or council direct administration to bring the financial plan 1386 to a special open meeting held at a date and time of council's choosing. And option 3, council requires further information prior to making a decision. The financial plan will include all the budget documents, and the water and sewer fees bylaws as well, so. At this point in time, I'd like to pass it back to our report.
Thank you, Mr. Zackel, and thank you for going through the budget issues that were discussed and looking at the revised percentages and taxation. Council, we're opening up. What would you like to do, Councillor King?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple of questions first, I guess. Since it was kind of a wish list from staff at the start, and we had an opportunity to review it and cut back, I'd like to make a recommendation that it actually goes back to staff, review it, and see what's really needed for 224, and try to bring it down another 5-6%. I still find 24% is too high. So I have to pass one of these. I go to number 3. I need more information.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this? Mr. Rizzo?
Your work, I just need to clarify from the administration's perspective. The budget was presented and prepared based on the direction of council. All items within that budget, for the vast majority, were discussed in previous committee, the whole meetings and other council meetings. So the budget that was put forward originally, as far as the draft, was done August 15th, and council gave direction to what to include into the budget. So I just want to make that clarification that the budget that was in front of council, for the vast majority, was on the decisions of council.
And I guess if when we presented, usually there's a consultant here that we can ask questions. Staff didn't know the answer to a couple of questions, so I found that quite interesting. And all past years I've been on council, there's always been a consultant here that we could ask questions on the budget. And there wasn't this year, so I find it difficult to pass something without a professional giving me some opinion on some of the things in the budget.
Thank you, Councillor King. I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I think we had all of our directors here, and we could ask questions at several different meetings concerning budget issues. And I'm not quite sure what you think, what added person you thought would be necessary.
Well, I guess in the past, we've had true consultants here that could actually give us more information on a specific item in the budget. I do respect our staff. They do a great job. They're trying to run it down, which is more difficult than just budgeting a home budget of buying a fridge or something, and how one thing impacts the other. But to move forward, since we've taken so long, I think there's no rush to move this forward in the next couple of weeks without more information.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the motion that the suggestion that Councillor King has? Go ahead, Councillor Chong.
Thank you. So at what level, just to specify, what level of information would you require?
Well, I guess it's just number one, I'd like to see, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Number one, I'd like to see the updated budget for the 24 to the 27. We've seen a list of things. Now we've got to see it in an actual document before we make a final decision. And I know Mr. Zackel mentioned bringing that forward, but again, there's also 8 things outside our preview that we have no control over, and I'd like to see that information. And in previous years, we never really passed this budget till April. I know it has to be passed by May for sure, but looking at the way it is now, say at 24%, if that moved forward and got passed, and then those 8 other things come forward and it increases another 10%, we're back at 34%. I believe we can do a better job by previewing this again. If I can't move to 1, I'd move number 2.
Okay, thank you, Councillor King. I do know that Mr. Zapple said he may not get the information on some of the other ones that we don't have any control over. Do you have any idea, or if they have to have it by, in May, obviously, because we have to pass the budget? Can you help us on that, or do you have any idea when that might happen?
So historically, the other taxing jurisdictions, library board, DRDOS, hospital board, school district, MFA, BC Assessment Authority, all of these other taxing jurisdictions, we are getting these requisitions from them sometimes late April to right up to May 15th. We've had them as late as that time. We have no control over their approval processes as far as their timings, other than statutorily, they have to have them into us by the 15th as well. That's their requisitions, that's their responsibilities and requirements for their areas. We're focusing on our area and what we need for our municipality. So I think that's very important for council's consideration. Yeah, it's there.
Thank you very much. So we don't have any idea when it's gonna come, so we can't count on that yet, I don't think. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor King, and 24.21 is a lot better than it was, but when we add the other things on, it's gonna come up, and I think I'd like to have a little more time to see if we can tweak it a little bit better, and I don't know how we do that, but I think that, we just got this on Friday, and I haven't really had a chance to go through all these hundreds of pages again to see if there's something else we can find, but I would like a little more time just to see if we can bring that 24.21% down.
Thank you. So I'm sorry, Mr. Zackel, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. We are not asking council to make a decision today. That's not what staff is asking. We just wanted to give council an update as far as what the percentages come to. We will deliberate the budget document once again, once I've got the entire budget document together. It's unfair for council to make any kind of decision prior to that. What staff was asking is, where do you want the next budget meeting to take place is one of them, and when. I can have this budget document probably ready within maximum 3 more days. I'm just about complete. I'm just trying to make sure that I've got everything included in it. So that's what I'm asking. As far as deliberating the budget and reducing the budget, if council's wishes are, that's the time where we can make those changes. We are not asking for you to approve it at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zackel. So basically, we're looking at either options 1 or option 2. And at that point, I think we can probably make some decisions and obviously get information at that time, I'm thinking. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Then I'd like to move option number 2.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Bennett. So do you have a suggestion for that, or were you thinking that it would be, it says it's council choosing, so that would mean a date and a place?
Well, I have no problem with the next council being the 12th, if it's open to the public.
All council meetings are open to the public, you mean it?
Putting it on the agenda for the 12th.
I believe it is on the agenda already for the 12th, it's just a matter of where we want the meeting, I think.
Oh, well, if that's the case, then I have no idea how many people will show up. I think Sonora Center was great last time. It was only maybe a third the amount of people at the first time. Maybe we can suggest a smaller place. I don't know what dates are available at Sonora Center. Mr. Davis, I don't know if you've got any idea of any open dates at this time. So I think it's pretty hard to pick a location exactly today, but I think it should be an open meeting.
I'm gonna clarify that
Please
any
do.
budget deliberations must be done in an open meeting, and the public must be able to attend. So no budget deliberations can be held behind. So either it's just all administration is asking at this point is we want to know location of where council would like to host a meeting, the time, and potentially dates that council will be looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John.
Thank you. Might we have a compromise where if we can deliberate for a third reading on March 12th, and we find that we need more information, then we can bring it, we could table and then have another third reading in a future date. But between the time where we receive the budget document, we review the updates and we find that we can find some changes. If we're able to do the math the day of, then maybe we can have a chance to pass it by third reading on March 12th. This is mainly in the interest that I'm sure we have RFPs that need to be put out. I'm sure we have capital projects that need to be started. And with our water situation, I feel that every month counts. And if we can cautiously proceed forward, I'd like to be able to do that. And in terms of location, I feel for full transparency, Sonora Center and have the same setup as we did before would be of the best interest of the public.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there are any capital projects that we that we might be able to pre-approve at this point or soon versus waiting for a couple of months. And sometimes it's necessary to do that in order to get things done during, before the summer, maybe not this year, or set up, because people are pretty busy trying to apply for all kinds of them. Go ahead, Mr. Zacco.
So that can be done, but I would suggest that we do that at the budget deliberations at the next meeting that we set. Staff, if there is a pressing timeline on a certain project, at that point in time, they could approach council for pre-approval to get that one moving prior to the financial plan being adopted. But not everyone is that urgent to be pre-approved, so they would have to have a compelling case of why.
Good, thank you. No, it was recommended that we, administration, it was recommended that we do this on March the 12th. Does that make sense to have a public meeting at the Sonora Center on that date? Or do we have to leave that and to find out when things are available? Mrs. Hilson?
We would need to find out if the Sonora Center is available on March the 12th. And again, we would need to confirm the time that council is looking at in hosting this meeting. Are you looking at having that at the 2 p.m. meeting, or are you looking to have it in the evening like you have in the past?
Thank you, council.
Personally, I'd like to see it in the evening. That gives the public more chance to show up and listen to deliberations.
So that would be 6 p.m. like the other meetings have been at 6. Does that make sense? So we have, we don't have a motion on the floor, do we? Or we had a suggestion, but is that a motion? That was a motion.
You had a motion, it was moved by Councillor King and seconded, I think, by Councillor Bennett. After option number 2, which would be hosting a special open meeting at a date and time of council's choosing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are you ready for to call? Can I call the question on that one, everybody?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
we would need a confirmation of the motion, so if council wants to confirm that it would be March 12th. At 6 p.m. as a special open meeting held at the Sonora Center, would that be the motion on the floor?
Well, I guess the question would be, without knowing if it's availability, if that really makes sense to include that date in the motion. Maybe it could be wide a little bit, the nearest date to the 12th, to give it some latitude on availability. I'll make that minor amendment.
Seconder, you okay with that? So we'll try for March the 12th. If that was the case, because that's normally a council meeting, would we not have the council meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Instead, we would move it to the evening, or would that be an addition?
I would say that would be an addition, and that would be a special open, that would have just, again, the budget issue. As council's main topic.
Thank you, just wanted to check for that. All right, so I'm going to then ask for, how many people will, the support of this motion? All in favor? Against? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, was there anything else, Mr. Zappo? Is that, okay, thank you very much. We will now go on to, liquor and cannabis.
Mayor Laporta, planning technician Curtis is gonna be presenting this, on behalf of Chris Garrett.
Thank you very much, and I see that with, all right. Ms. Curtis, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Laporta. So the property located at 8527 Main Street is seeking approval from the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for a new liquor primary license. So the purpose of the liquor primary license is to sell all types of liquors to patrons for on-site consumption. Under section 38 of the Liquor Control and Licensing Act, the applicant must provide council notice of an application, and the council must in return resolve if it's going to provide comment on the application or opt out. Section 71.9 or 71.9 of the Liquor Control and Licensing Regulation requires that when an application for a liquor primary license has been received and the council wishes to provide comment, it must take into account the following criteria: potential noise of the application if approved, and the impact on the community if the application is approved. In order to provide these comments, council must, under section 38.3 of the Liquor Control and Licensing Act, gather the views of residents that may be affected by the proposal if it wishes to provide comment. And these can be done via following methods: receiving written comment in response to public notice, conducting a public hearing, holding a referendum, or any other similar method determined by council. Having considered the above criteria and heard from affected residents, council would then provide these comments in writing to the LCLB. Should council decide to opt out of the review process or provide no comment to the application, council must provide a resolution to this effect. Branch requests that council consider this application within 90 days, so we need to make a decision before March 3rd, 2024, to either provide comment or advise that we're opting out. Additional time over that 90-day period can be approved by the branch if needed, but we need to provide that in writing before the 90-day period is over. So the subject property is approximately 641 meters squared in area and situated to the northeast corner of Main Street and 87th Street. The subject property currently contains the restaurant The Indian Flame. It is understood that the proposed bar and lounge will share an entrance with the Indian Flame restaurant. However, a secondary entrance is available off of 87th Street. The proposed liquor license will involve only the existing interior space and not comprise of any outdoor spaces. The building was previously renovated in 2022, and the site plan prepared at that time calculated the potential seating capacity of the building at 200 seats. 62 seats for the restaurant and 138 seats for the proposed bar and lounge. However, the current proposal only speaks to a capacity of 92 persons for the bar and lounge. Under the town's official community plan, the property is designated as downtown commercial, and an objective within the bylaw is to protect and enhance the existing character areas of the town center, such as unique specialty and locally owned retail, food, and beverage spaces, while expanding complementary retail support services, arts, and entertainment. Under the town's zoning bylaw, the property is zoned downtown commercial, C1, and amongst other things, permits a licensed establishment as a principal use of property, which is defined within the bylaw as an established license for the service of liquor and includes liquor primary establishments and licensee retail store as defined and regulated by the Liquor Control and Licensing Act. The required off-site parking is one vehicle for every 4 seats. The applicant is aware of its compliance with all sections of the zoning bylaw and business license bylaw, and BC building code is required. In considering this proposal, administration notes that the granting of liquor primary license is consistent with the downtown commercial designation and the property and the key and the objective of encouraging food and beverage spaces. Further, the proposed use is consistent with the zoning bylaw and allows for a licensed establishment under the zone. For these reasons, administration is recommending that council opt out of providing comment to the LCRB. Conversely, if council is of the opinion to provide comment on this application, consultation with the public must first occur. It is likely that the formal extension from the LCRB would require, in order to complete that consultation. On a note regarding vehicle parking, so the applicant has proposed the seating capacity of 92 patrons for the bar and lounge area. Under the town zoning bylaw, this would generate a requirement of provision of upwards of 23 on-site vehicle parking spaces, which they do not have. Under section 6.7 of the zoning bylaw, any person who changes a use which requires parking to be provided may, at their option, instead provide such required parking spaces, pay some up to $3,000 for each parking space required but not provided. If 23 vehicle space parking are required but can't be provided on site, the applicant could make a payment for the amount of $69,000 to the town. The funds collected from cash in lieu payments are typically placed in a reserve fund to be used for parking facility upgrades in the downtown commercial zone. While the option of seeking a variance to the required number of parking spaces is available to the applicant, these requests are not supported by administration when a cash in lieu option exists. Administration is aware that the current restaurant being operated in Unit A of the building on the subject property relies solely on street parking for the patrons. So the options today are that council choose option 1, that the liquor and cannabis regulation branch be advised the town of Oswego opt out of providing comment, or option 2, that the council resolves to initiate a process for providing comment to the liquor and cannabis regulation branch regarding the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Curtis. Councillor King,
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move option 1.
that we opt out of the process. Yes. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Chong. I do know that we looked at these concerns before, and we have opted out of the last ones that we had to deal with. So I think that I'm certainly in favor of that as well. So all in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Curtis. And now, Mr. Brownstein, the Art Gallery building. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. There is a report before council in regards to the art gallery building and a recent hazard assessment. There are 3 options before council at this time. One option is the council provides funding in the amount of $75,000 to complete the necessary asbestos remediation work. And at the building at 8713 Main Street, the art gallery will be closed until such time that all remediation work has been completed. Option 2 is the council permanently close the building at 8713 Main Street, art gallery, and budget for its demolition. And option 3, the council permanently close the building and leave the structure standing until such time repairs can be made.
Thank you very much. I have a question. I certainly know that this is going to affect the businesses and the community groups that take part in there. Have we looked at some other options for them?
Your Worship, I'm going to defer that to Mr. Davis, who can hopefully provide some light on that subject.
Mr. Davis, would you like to move up to that chair, the chair beside Mr. Brownstein?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we actually have a couple of potential options. We could use the Sonora Center, excuse me, the Desert Center,
Yes.
or I should say Desert Park Building, not Desert Center. In a short term, just to get something happening, just to help them along. In speaking with the Arts Council, they also lease a building across the street. There could be an option to do something there, just in terms of the gallery itself.
And there are other options, on a lesser extent, where the Cactus Center could possibly be used. It'll only be used right now for another month or so, maybe two, by a group that actually utilizes the art gallery. So there are some options there. We really haven't taken anything to, any other level of, investigation, just, waiting for the direction from council.
And thank you very much, because I know this just recently came to light after the inspectors were there. And certainly appreciate staff's ability to look at options right away. Mr. Brownstein, can I ask if council provided the funds and the art gallery building was closed, how long do you think, could we get somebody? I know you said it would take a couple of months. Would it be easy enough to find somebody to come in and do that work, or would that take a while?
Your worship, discussions are already in play. I'm just waiting on final approval for funding. So once the funding is approved, I'm quite sure I can get probably somebody down here in the next month.
Thank you. Can I ask, and I don't see Mr. Zackel here, would there be, do you know, Mr. Risling, where could we find the money if we were to come up with this? Is there reserves that we could use for that money? Do you know?
Your worship, the $75,000 is being funded via reserves, so it is being pulled out of reserves.
Thank you very much. Council, what would you like to do here? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move option number 1.
Okay, that would be the recommended option. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Councillor Poderica is seconding that. Are there any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Chong.
Thank you. Why wasn't this addressed during the renovations of the building?
Through your worship, I cannot answer that question. I don't know who was involved with the renovations and did.
The renovations, recent ones, because I don't think there's been any for a while, other than some cosmetic things, outdoor stairs, was there? Or which renovations are you referring
I
to?
guess I'm referring to when it was converted from the Home Builder Center into what is now the museum.
No, we're not talking about that one. We're talking about the art gallery building.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry.
Yeah,
Great part, my apologies.
that used to be the police station at one
Yeah,
point.
so,
And there is, as you can see with the drawings, there is a jail cell down the basement. It used to be, and I think it still is for some things, a storage facility for a lot of files that belong to the town. So I already asked, could parts of the building continue to be used while other parts were fixed and the asbestos taken out. But because the Sonora Center, when it was a school, I remember it happened that way, that we were allowed to stay in parts of it while it was being done. But I do know that from talking to Mr. Brownstein that WorkSafe does not allow that. And what my remembrance is, it's probably 25 years ago that it happened at the Sonora Center when it was the school. So is that correct, Mr. Brownstein, that we are required to vacate the building totally in order to do the work?
That is correct, Your worship. In order to maintain the health and safety of the individuals who are in the workspace, the space needs to be closed until the mediation work is completed.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion on the floor. Councillor King, did you have a question?
yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you know if any of these pipes are like behind walls where we have to like fix up the walls after? This only kind of clears the asbestos out. And what about if we have to put new chip rock or other things up, that's gonna be an added cost?
Through your worship, Councillor King, currently the piping that is of question is only the exposed piping. We are not aware of any concerns within the walls. If that does become an issue upon remediation works, there will be a further discussion with council in regards to additional.
Thank you very much. So there's been a mover and a seconder for option number one, which is the recommended option that we fund it to the amount of $75,000 and the work that the building be closed until such time as all remediation work has been completed. I will call the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we'll move on to, general net payroll and SunGold Arena financial accounts. So as of February the 27th, 2024, we have, balances in the following funds: general cash requirements, $561,247.63. SunGold cash requirements of $4,523.71, and net payroll accounts of $112,094.23. Could I have a motion, please, that we keep this for information purposes? Councillor Federica, Councillor Chong, all in favor? Thank you. Next is, that's Curtis again. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm actually gonna be doing a report, Mr. Garish.
Not a problem.
Delegation.
Thank you. This is the delegation and land use procedures bylaw development permits. Thank you.
No problem. So Mr. Garish did bring this report to our reports, to the committee of the whole, 2 weeks ago. And council provided direction, or the committee provided direction to bring these two bylaws for council's consideration. So we are proposing to amend the town's delegation authority bylaw to update the delegated authority to issue, amend, and cancel development permits under section 490 of the Local Government Act, as well as adding the Director of Corporate Services and the Director of Operational Services as to have the ability to sign development servicing agreements. As those are standard agreements that need to have delegated authority. As well, we are proposing to amend the town's land use procedure bylaw in order to update various regulations related to the processing of development permits, pre-application meetings, and application fees. So the options before council, we would require two separate motions. One is that the land use procedures amendment bylaw number 123507/2024 be read a first, second, and third time. And the second motion would be that the delegation of authority amendment bylaw number 129202/2024 be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Hilson. Council. Councillor Chong.
I'll move option one.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Call the question, all in favor? Thank you. So how about option two? Is anybody willing to move that one? Councillor King?
I'll move it, then I have a question.
All right. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Chong? Go ahead with your
Yes,
question.
there you could just ask me why it's important to put corporate services and operational services on this document. Or how many people do we have on it already?
Currently, it's the CEO and the Director of Planning and Development, and we're vacant of the Director of Planning and Development Services. And the Director of Corporate Services and the Director of Planning, Operational Services are familiar with those agreements. And it's most common that the Director of Corporate Services or your corporate officer is your signing authority for the job. And so often I sign many agreements, I bind the corporation, so that's why that recommendation is being made.
Thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Okay, so
Who's on it right now?
The CAO and your Director of Planning and Development Services.
Thank you.
thank you. So we have a motion that the delegation of authority amendment bylaw be read a first, second, and third time. All in favor? Thank you very much, everyone. Next. Zoning amendment bylaws. That would be Ms. Curtis, right?
Yes, thank you, Mayor McCordle. This report is for zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.117 or 5809 United Street. So the applicant is proposing to amend the zoning for the subject property to subdivide property into two small lots, one lot containing the existing residence. Although a public hearing cannot be held for this application due to the rezoning application being consistent with the low medium density residential or residential density designation in the official community plan. Notices for the proposed zoning amendment bylaw were sent out on February 14th, inviting residents to share their views with council through the submission. All letters of correspondence received to date have been added to the report and attached. A zoning amendment is required as the subject property is currently zoned R1, single family residential, and the proposed R2, single family residential small lot would allow for a minimum lot size of 400 meters square. The proposed site plan is in attachment 3 and not attachment 5. Although there was an error in the report plan. Illustrates the proposed lots conforming with the minimum lot size requirements of the R2 zone. It's also important to note that there is an easement along the side and rear property line for sewer right of way. The proposed plan of subdivision provides the building envelope for a developable area for the proposed lots. And you can easily see that within the report. The applicant has been informed that should the rezoning and subsequent subdivision of the subject property occur, changes would need to be made to the external cladding of the garage building and the location of the existing residence sanitary sewer connection. Furthermore, the applicant was advised that administration would not support variances to the setbacks with the proposed new parcel. As the intent of the subdivision would be to provide a building without a variance. The subject property is designated as low medium density residential, and proposed zoning would comply with the official community plans designation. The official community plan density requirements. The official community plan also seeks to accommodate infill and intensification where possible. The proposed subsequent rezoning and subdivision complies with the official community plan policies.
Thank you very much. This has been an interesting procedure, zoning amendment, because while we had it sort of set up, we had to take that off of the table because of the new rules that the government had come out with. So thank you for doing this extra work and putting it together. Council, what is your wish here? Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move option number 1.
That it be read a first, second, and third time?
Correct.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Quadrica? Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Shaw.
Thank you. With Bill 44 and amalgamation of all the residential zones, isn't this kind of a new home?
No, because he wants to create a new lot. So technically, if so long as he continues with his application following the current stream, he would be able to subdivide the lot before that came to point. So those setbacks may change as a result of the new setbacks that have been proposed essentially by the provincial government's guidance. But that will be determined. Essentially, we won't give variances to those either. So while he may get a little more wiggle room in terms of setbacks changing, he would still fit the requirements essentially.
Okay. All right, we have the recommended motion to be read a first, second, and third time. Call the question, all in favor? Against? Thank you. That carried. We will now move on to the bylaw to amend the Good Shepherd, all right, Good Neighbor bylaw, number 1277, 2011. So it has been, it was given first, second, and third reading on November the 14th, 2023. And today we are looking we had to check with the Ministry of Transportation. That has not affected this, and therefore we need to adopt it today. Okay, could I have a motion to that? Thank you, Councillor Quadrica. Moving that, Councillor King seconding that.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I guess when I look at the application, I just wanted clarity down at the bottom. The applicant further clarifies that the applicant is authorized to the appropriate level of natural resource management process and fire set off for explosive fireworks So I just want to clarify, it might be just the way I read it. Say the Festival Society applied for an application, they're sort of a nonprofit, and they hire someone else. I interpret that they would have to set them off themselves, or like, I just want clarity.
Do you know the answer to that, Ms. Curtis? No. Mr. Risning, do we know what that means, or Mrs. Hilson? That would be at the very end
So
of.
I'm gonna confirm that this would probably have to be done by the person that's actually firing off the fireworks itself, because if you look at just down under Schedule B and under the application, right before you read carefully, it says contact name and phone for organizer or sponsor of the special public event. So although it could be the Festival Society, whoever they hired to actually set off the fireworks would actually have to go with this permit. And that's what would be approved.
Thank you very much. Are you all right with that, Councillor King?
Once that's clear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, we're now going to, council meeting report, and that would be, Councillor Poderica went to a meeting, and he, I can't find it right now, and he would like to get paid for it. Is there somebody who would move the meeting report in the amount of $200? Councillor King, Councillor Chung, all in favor. Thank you very much. And we're now going to move on to reports from committees and from the Committee of the Whole meeting. And on February the 13th, Committee of the Whole meeting, moved by Councillor Chung, seconded by Councillor Poderica, that the child care needs assessment report received, and there were certain things in there that were carried. I'm not going to read that all, but what I'd like to do today is ask for a motion, please, that council direct administration to work on specific short-term goals identified in the child care needs assessment report. The specific goals include community services department establish a cross-sectoral committee of key partners to monitor the action plan, formalize out-of-school programming to function as an out-of-school daycare or care, investigate a repayable education fund or bursary for Vesuvius resident students who want to pursue a career in early childhood education, and update the zoning bylaws to allow childcare facilities to be in areas that are currently restricted. Is there someone who would like to move that motion? Thank you, Councillor Poderica, Councillor Chong. All in favor? Thank you very much. I also mentioned that that we do have ETSI-BC has some grants available, and I'm hoping that that administration can look into the possibility of applying for a grant. ETSI-BC is the Economic Trust of the Southern Interior. There may be, I wondered if there might be a grant for the education part of that, and I'm wondering if we could, can I make a motion that we ask administration, am I allowed to do that? Okay, I'd like to ask administration to look into that to see if there was a possible grant that we could use from ETSI-BC. The dates to apply for the spring funding, March 11th to April 14th. Could I have a second? Councillor Poderica seconding that. All in favor? Thank you very much. The next one is a motion from the February 27th Committee of the Whole meeting, and it was moved by Councillor Chong, seconded by Councillor King, that the committee recommend to council that council direct administration to look at reducing the speed limits in the low density residential zones. So what I need, please, is a motion today that council direct administration to look at reducing speed limits in the low residential zones. Councillor King, Councillor Chong. Okay, and we have another one from today's meeting, and I won't read it. It's concerning service level changes in the curbside collection program. That council endorses a service level change and moves forward with a fully automated curbside collection program and commits to funding a cart program for the community. The cart program will have an additional investment of $350,000 in 2025 and an ongoing operating cost of $45,000 per year, starting in 2026 for cart repair, replacement, and renewal. Fully automated collection services can be achieved with current operating budget allocations. Could I have a motion for that one, please? Councillor Rodriguez, Councillor King. Yes? No, sorry, you weren't second. I'm sorry, I thought your name said Councillor Bennett. Okay, so I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Thank you, that carries. And opposed? Thank you. That carried. All right. And from the February 27th Committee of the Whole meeting, that it was moved and seconded this morning that the committee recommend to council that council directs administration to submit the legislative changes resolution to SILGA, UBCM Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and all local governments of BC. So we need to make that motion again in this meeting. Thank you, Councillor Chong, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you very much. And then next we will move on to the CAO report. Mr. Risling.
Thank you, Your Worship. A few things have been going on. The Parks Master Plan RFP has been awarded to ISL Engineering. Family Day was a big success on February 17th, with Leap the Magician in town and approximately 50 families attended. The planning for the spring program, so the next few weeks here, the program guide is going to be released. I encourage people to sign up quickly because a lot of the programs actually fill up rather early, so be ready for it. The ammonia compressor rebuild shall almost be done here within the week or so, so that's another good capital project that's been completed. In corporate services, consistently getting additional FOIs, and so we've been working on about 4 over the last 2 or 3 weeks. In the financial services, it's been budget and year-end preparation for the audit. And the fire department, they've been doing some tours. A lot of children have been visiting with the Strong Start program. There's been a couple of structure fires in the last couple of months, unfortunately. As far as new businesses, John Tolman Carpenter, Wine Country Events, and Castanet are the new businesses in the community over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Change of names or ownership include Gino's Coffee House, formerly JoJo's Cafe, and both co-ops now have new owners, but they're keeping the same name. In operational services, we got some new garbage cans arrived and they're being placed in Gyro Park. You'll notice a lot of spring work being done as far as new bark mulch and just general maintenance and pruning is going on. Pre-qualification for engineering services is closed. The highest ranking proponents, which we'll be using, is Associated Engineering and Carlo Engineers Canada. And that's about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Risling. Could we have a motion, please, to receive the CAO report for information? Councillor Chong. Looking this way. Councillor Chong, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you very much. So we'll go on to council reports, and Councillor Poderica, you're first.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, not to report this week. Quite a couple of weeks, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess like everybody on council and the mayor, we're at the special open house on the 15th, which was well received. On the 16th, I was on a Zoom meeting with Parks BC, Gerald Davis from Community Service and Accessibility Committee to look at trying to move forward, I guess, a little fishing dock there and see how receptive it would be. OIB is already on site, so that was kind of a plus. But we're looking for some type of MOU to be signed or Mr. Davis maybe will come back to council with an update on the 12th. Also, on the 22nd, I attended a Accessibility Age Friendly Committee, and they had a major concern about, I guess, the sidewalk, I forget what it was called, taken out of the budget. And their main concern, I guess, is actually from Shoppers to OK Tire. There's still a couple of drop downs there that are very hard for a person in a wheelchair or a person that hard of seeing. Now, I don't know why they didn't put the curbs back along there. So I guess they were looking at, there's a way to kind of rebuild them a little bit with a small budget would be well respected. And hopefully move forward. That's my report.
Thank you. I'm assuming that will come back to council for consideration. Good, thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor McCormick. First of all, I want to say thank you to the town committee. Basically, when you pull on the irrigation ditch now, looks really wonderful. They cleaned out all the ditch and the trees, and that looks like a real park and looks really, really nice. In regards to meetings, February 15th, the budget at Sonora. February 16th, the Okanagan Bike Club, Councillor Chong, myself, and the president, Ken Gilchrist, regarding the national park closure. There's lots of grants and opportunities to take out trees and stuff, and the park's closed at this time, and Councillor Chong might be able to give us a little more information. And February 19th, I met with the Trail of the Okanagan. We had a strategic planning all day in Penticton, and February 21st, the Okanagan Regional Library Board in Kelowna. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Chong.
Thank you. Sounding a little repetitive, but was there for the special open budget meeting. And was also with at the meeting with Councillor Ben with President Canton. Work in progress. We're still gathering more information. And attended the magician at Sonora. Although my 2-year-old was just running around, not really focused. He was amazing. It was quite a show. And currently had a meeting with YB Councillor Sonia Jansen regarding potentially using technology to digitize and preserve the Salish language so that we can keep it so that it can still be learned for generations to come, as the language itself is classified as endangered, with most fluent speakers in the last quarter of their life. So we're looking at using deep learning, artificial intelligence, and machine learning as a way to preserve, which is really, really cool. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. So I've had kind of a busy couple of weeks, so I'll just outline some of the things that I've done. I did attend Osoyoos Elementary School twice last week. I went in to help the grade 2s with their sight word blitz. And that was to try and improve their fluency. And a sight word is a word that may not be easily sounded out. It's one that you should know by sight. One of the examples on there was the word laugh, which we used, but you certainly couldn't sound that one out with all the odd letters in it. So that was fun. I did that 2 days. I was also at the regional district meeting last week. We had some workshops on this, the short-term rentals. It's certainly been on the news. It was on the news this morning when I was listening to it. It's being talked about everywhere, and I do know that it's coming back for Town of Osoyoos to talk about as well. A lot of the area directors in the regional district, and there are 9 of them, there's varying opinions on whether they should have short-term rentals. It doesn't include the municipalities, but the areas. And so it was interesting to listen to why yes or no on that. So we'll hear much more about it. I went with the regional district members. There were 6 or 7 of us. We went to BC Tree Fruits facility last week, and that's in Oliver. And we had a really good tour. Interesting that I had to, in order to go on the tour where they were washing and packing apples, I had to take off my rings, my watch, my earrings, and wear a hairnet the whole time, which surprised me only because I thought it was, you know, I mean, I might have lost them in the water, but I didn't think that was food safety. However, we all complied. And it was fascinating. They have a very good line in there updating the facility because it's the one facility in in whole Okanagan now. There certainly are individual packing plants as well, but this is the largest facility. It was really interesting. They could take a box of apples. Ambrosia was what they were doing that day. Put them in, wash them, sort them, and pull out the culls, even if it wasn't something that you could see. They have lights that can go in and notice if there's water core or if there's a spot that's gonna cause damage. And it was fascinating to be able to watch that. We were there for probably 2.5 hours getting the tour. So I'd highly recommend it. I don't know how often they do tours, but this was really interesting. Last week, on the weekend, I went to the Desert Society, had a meeting and up at the mini theater, and it was a film that we saw, Geographies of Solitude, and it was on Sable Island, which is off the coast of Nova Scotia. Since 1750, there have been wild horses on that island, and they're still there. There's still 450 of them. And there's the lady who was talking, her name was Zoe. She has lived there on and off for quite some time. She goes around keeping very, very good notes on all of the animals that are there. Her specialty is grasses, and she was looking at the grasses and how are people fed. One of the shocking things that we noticed was that the amount over the last few years of plastics and garbage that have floated up, even though this is, I think it's 100 miles away from the coast. Balloons was the biggest thing. And this lady had taken off the rings on the balloons, and she kept them all, and she showed us, there were thousands and thousands of balloons that had washed up there on the beach. Pretty amazing. And some of them came from the United States, middle of the country. So it just shows what happens when you let balloons off into the air, I guess. The one thing she said was that she was glad that the price of helium had gone up because there were less balloons recently because people can't afford it. Anyway, the Desert Society puts on really good presentations every once in a while. This was a really good one. I also went to the AGM of the Serious Vegetable Society, and there's a plan for Easter, which is on March the 30th. I went to a drought workshop the other night as well, put on by the Regional District Ministry of Agriculture and Water, Land and Resource Stewardship, and it was put on in Oliver. They were talking about emergency management, drought levels 1 to 5, and we are still considered in drought number 5 down here, even though it looks like we have some a little more rain than usual. Irrigation is the largest consumer of water, and hydrometric stations is something that's being encouraged, and it's on streams to monitor environmental flows and protecting streams from, running out of water and to fish and aquatic species as well. So the good thing in terms of drought is that the Okanagan is better off than many other places in the province. On February the 14th, the Okanagan snow basin was 86% of normal. The Similkamine's only at 60, and the coast is lower than that. So they're really concerned. They would really like lots more water. So that was interesting. And rain barrels. Really good idea. It shows how you can get them from up there, from the regional district. They can save water and you can use it in your garden. So good ideas. And I also have a lot of drought resources here. So I'm certainly willing to help people if they want more information. The other thing is I went to the bowling alley a couple of times on Fridays because the Special Olympics is being held right now in Calgary. And there are participants from all across the country. So the bowling team from Vesuvius, there's 5 of them, won the gold in BC, so they were able to attend. And they're in Calgary right now. There's 1,200 people from our kids, not kids, young adults, from across the country that were going to be there. They were really excited. I watched them do their practice one day. And I took them with, at their suggestion, I took them some pins, Vesuvius pins, some pens, and some Vesuvius tattoos. And they were so excited about having that, and they were going to take them. They love to give out pins from wherever they're from to other participants that they run into and collect them as well. So they were very happy. So that was on behalf of the town of Vesuvius. I think they're there from February 26th to the 29th. And the last thing is that this month is February, it's Heart and Stroke Month. And unfortunately, I've heard of a couple people that have had a heart problem recently. And so I just want everybody to be aware of that. Be careful, look after yourselves, and if you can afford it, then make a donation to the Heart Stroke Society. So that is my report for today, and I will now move into the in-camera section. So that I need a motion that pursuant to section 91 of the community charter, a part of the council meeting may be closed to the public with the subject matter being considered related to one or more of the following. Section 92B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a provincial government or the federal government or both, or between a provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party. So could I have a motion? Thank you, Councillor Paul Councillor